The ocean breeze was supposed to soothe me. The rhythmic crash of waves against the shore usually washed away my worries. But this weekend at our beach house was nothing like that. Instead, it felt like I was trapped inside a slow-moving storm, one that was quietly gathering force, ready to shatter everything. Eric sat across from me on the porch, his gaze fixed somewhere beyond the horizon. The silence between us wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, loaded with things unsaid. I fiddled with the silver bracelet on my wrist, trying to steady my racing thoughts. That morning I had seen the message on his phone by accident. Claire's name popped up, a name I hadn't expected. Claire, the wife of Eric's business partner. I'd always assumed their connection was strictly professional. But the words beneath that name, we need to talk about the baby, twisted like a knife in my gut. For hours I tried to convince myself it was a mistake, a cruel joke. Maybe Claire had mixed up the timing. Maybe I was reading too much into it. But when Eric's phone lit up again with a message from her, my heart sank deeper. I realized that my life was quietly unraveling in ways I never imagined. That evening, just as the sun dipped below the horizon, Claire arrived at the beach house. I wasn't expecting her. Neither was Eric, judging by the flicker of surprise on his face. She looked tense, her eyes darting between us like she was trying to read a script that hadn't been written yet. She didn't waste time with pleasantries. "It's not Eric's," Claire said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I only found out recently. The timing. It's more complicated than you know." Her words hit me like a wave. I blinked, trying to grasp their meaning, but all I felt was confusion and betrayal mingling into a bitter taste in my mouth. Eric still said nothing. The room felt charged, every breath thick with unspoken accusations. I watched Claire closely, trying to catch a hint of the truth hidden behind her guarded expression. Was she protecting Eric? Or herself? Was there more I didn't know? The night stretched on with fragmented conversations and moments of crushing silence. I saw Eric's face tighten every time Claire spoke, but he never denied or confirmed. He just looked lost, like a man caught in a web he couldn't escape. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but something inside me held back. Instead, I watched the scene unfold with a strange detachment, as if I was an outsider watching a tragedy play out on a stage. Hours passed, the weight of the secrets between us growing heavier. As the sky lightened with the first hints of dawn, I realized this weekend was no longer about relaxation or escape. It was about something far more dangerous. The slow unraveling of everything I thought I knew. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Lydia, the managing partner at Eric's law firm. "We need to talk. Something urgent about the Mercer case." I stared at the screen, feeling a cold chill run down my spine. What could possibly connect my crumbling marriage to a high-stakes legal battle? I didn't know, but I sensed the real storm was only just beginning. The early morning light filtered through the gauzy curtains, softening the sharp edges of my restless thoughts. I sat at the kitchen table, the cold cup of coffee untouched before me. Eric was still asleep in the guest room, or so I hoped. Last night's confrontation had left us all drained, but the silence between us was heavier than any argument. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Lydia. "Meet me at the office at 9 a.m. important. Bring Eric." I swallowed hard. Why was this suddenly about Eric and me? What did Lydia have to say about the Mercer Pharmaceuticals case? And why now? As I got ready, my mind drifted back to Claire's words. "It's not Eric's." Who else could it be? And why reveal this now, here at our retreat? The drive to the firm was quiet. Eric and I shared the car, but not a word passed between us. His jaw was tight, his eyes avoiding mine in the rearview mirror. I wondered what he was thinking, but I was afraid of the answer. We arrived just before 9. Lydia greeted us with a professional smile that didn't reach her eyes. She led us into a glass-walled conference room where files and laptops were already waiting. "Thank you for coming on such short notice," Lydia began. There's been a development in the Mercer case. Something that could affect the entire firm. Her tone was serious, and I felt a wave of dread wash over me. Eric exchanged a quick glance with Lydia, and I noticed his hands clench under the table. She continued. Documents have surfaced showing possible misuse of company funds. Funds that were funneled through accounts linked to a few key people, including Eric. I barely heard the rest. My heart pounded in my chest, the room seeming to close in around me. Was this some kind of mistake? Was Eric involved in something illegal? Or was this just another layer of the chaos swallowing my life whole? I caught Eric's eye. His expression was unreadable, but there was a flicker of panic I couldn't ignore. Lydia turned to me. Kim, I understand this is difficult, but we need your cooperation. This could impact your personal and professional life. I nodded, swallowing my shock. Of course. Whatever I can do. The morning dragged on with interviews and documents and questions that only deepened the mystery. Eric was silent, uncharacteristically so, as Lydia and I pieced together fragments of information. Later, as we stepped outside for a breath of air, I confronted him quietly. Eric, what's going on? What haven't you told me? He hesitated, then sighed heavily. It's complicated. I didn't want you to find out like this. I searched his face, desperate for the truth. There's more at stake than you know. The affair, the pregnancy, it's tangled with this case. Claire isn't just involved with me personally, but professionally too. My mind reeled. What do you mean? He looked away. There are people trying to use this scandal to destroy the firm, to take down powerful people. And I'm caught in the middle. The fragile threads holding our lives together were snapping one by one. I realized the betrayal wasn't just a matter of heartache. It was part of a larger, darker game. That night, alone in the cottage I rented nearby, I stared at the ceiling. The weight of secrets pressed down on me. I didn't know who to trust anymore. Eric, Claire, Lydia. Even myself. But one thing was certain. This weekend was no accident. It was the beginning of a reckoning none of us were prepared for. The dawn crept in like a cautious whisper, but sleep refused to visit me. I lay in the small cottage bed, tangled in sheets, my mind a relentless storm. Eric's words echoed again and again, refusing to settle. Asterisk. There are people trying to use this scandal to destroy the firm. And I'm caught in the middle. Asterisk. Caught in the middle. What did that mean? Who were these people? And why had I been kept in the dark for so long? I forced myself out of bed and stood by the window overlooking the restless Atlantic. The waves crashed with a furious persistence, like the secrets beating inside me. My phone lay silent on the nightstand. No new messages. For a moment, the quiet felt like a fragile peace. But peace was an illusion. Later that morning I returned to the firm. The sterile office walls felt colder than ever, and the air was thick with unspoken tension. Eric avoided eye contact, and Lydia's gaze was sharp, assessing. I settled into my chair, fingers trembling slightly as I opened the latest batch of files Lydia had emailed. Hundreds of pages filled with transactions, emails, internal memos, cryptic clues pointing to a complex web of deception. Among the names and numbers, one detail leapt out at me. A series of transfers from a hidden account under the alias Marlin. The payments were large and frequent, and somehow, they connected directly to Claire's department. My breath caught. Was Claire deeper in this than I imagined? Was her affair with Eric just the surface of something far darker? My phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. Asterisk, stop digging. It's not safe. Asterisk. Froze. My hand shook. Who was watching me? How much did they know? I glanced at Eric, who was busy typing at his desk. He hadn't noticed. Or maybe he had and was choosing silence. I decided then, I couldn't trust anyone. Not Lydia, not Eric, not Claire. If this was a conspiracy, I had to find the truth alone. That evening, I slipped out to meet an old friend, Marcus. He wasn't involved in the firm, but he was sharp, connected, and trusted. Someone I could talk to without fear. In the dim light of a quiet cafe, I laid out everything. The affair, the pregnancy, the scandal, the threats. Marcus listened, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully. Sounds like someone's trying to squeeze Eric out, and Claire's caught in the crossfire. Or maybe worse, she's part of it. I shook my head. I don't know who to believe anymore. Even Eric. He's hiding something. Marcus leaned closer. You need proof, Kim. And you need to be careful. These people don't play fair. A chill ran down my spine. As I walked back to the cottage under a starless sky, I felt eyes on me. Or maybe it was just paranoia. Every shadow seemed to hide a secret, every whisper a warning. Back inside, I checked my phone again. Another message, this time from Eric. Asterisk, meet me at the beach house. Now. Asterisk. My heart hammered. What was he going to say? Was this an attempt at reconciliation or a trap? I grabbed my coat and drove through the winding coastal road to the beach house, where it all began. Eric waited on the porch, hands in his pockets, his face unreadable. I need to tell you everything, he said quietly. I nodded, bracing myself for whatever came next. As he began to speak, I realized this weekend would change everything. Not just our lives, but the very fabric of who we were. The porch light cast long shadows across Eric's face as I approached the beach house. The salty breeze tangled my hair, but I barely noticed. Every step felt heavier than the last, weighted with unspoken questions and a growing sense of dread. Eric's eyes met mine, dark and tired. Thank you for coming, he said, voice low. I owe you the truth. All of it. We stepped inside, the familiar scent of pine and ocean air mingling with an undercurrent of something else. Fear, maybe regret. He motioned to the living room, and I sank into the worn leather sofa, still bracing myself. Eric paced slowly before sitting opposite me. Kim, this isn't just about the firm or the affair. There's a lot more going on, and I've been keeping you in the dark because I wanted to protect you. But now it's out of control. My heart thudded. Protect me. By lying. He sighed deeply, rubbing the back of his neck. I was scared. Scared of losing everything, my career, my family, you. But the truth is, someone inside the firm has been siphoning money, and it's connected to Claire. It's more than just an affair. It's a conspiracy to take down the partners, starting with me. I blinked, stunned. Claire. But she's not just involved, he interrupted sharply. She's orchestrating it. The room felt suddenly colder. Why? I asked, voice barely a whisper. Power. Revenge. She's been passed over for promotions for years. The firm ignored her talents, and when she found out about the pregnancy, she snapped. She wants to hurt me, and everyone else who underestimated her. I swallowed hard. This was worse than I'd imagined. The woman I thought I could trust was pulling strings behind a dangerous veil of lies. Eric pulled out his phone, scrolling through encrypted messages. Look at this. Payments from the Marlin account, Claire's fake identity. And here, internal emails discussing ways to sabotage my cases. Felt sick. The depth of betrayal was suffocating. And Lydia? Asked. Where does she fit? Eric hesitated. She's complicated. She's been suspicious for months but didn't know who to trust. She approached me last week with concerns, but I couldn't tell if she was helping or spying. The lines between ally and enemy blurred. I paced the room, the weight of it all pressing down. We need to expose her. All of it. Eric nodded. But if Claire suspects we're onto her, she'll strike first. The thought sent a shiver through me. Just then my phone buzzed again, the unknown number. Asterisk, stop now, Kim. Or you'll regret it. Asterisk. I glanced at Eric. He looked just as unsettled. We're in deeper than I thought, he muttered. For the first time, I felt the full scale of danger surrounding me. This wasn't just a scandal, it was a battlefield. Eric reached into his pocket and pulled out a small flash drive. This contains everything I've been able to gather. Documents, audio recordings, even video. It's our only leverage. I took it, feeling the cold metal press against my palm. Tonight, I want you to leave the cottage, Eric said firmly. Go somewhere safe. I'll handle the firm. I hesitated. But what about us? What about the baby? He looked away, pain flickering across his face. I don't know, Kim. I don't know what the future holds. The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open inside me. Before I could respond, a sharp knock echoed through the house. We froze. Who is it? Eric called out. No answer. Then a crash. The front window shattered. Glass sprayed across the floor as a dark figure slipped inside. Heart racing, I grabbed Eric's arm. Run! We dashed through the back door, out into the stormy night, the salty wind whipping around us like a warning. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed. This was no longer just about secrets or betrayal. It was survival. The night air was sharp and biting as Eric and I ran through the dense thicket behind the beach house. My breath came in ragged gasps, heart pounding so loudly I feared it might give away our hiding place. The shattered glass behind us glittered like stars lost in the dark, but the sound of breaking was replaced now by the pounding of distant footsteps and the urgent wail of sirens. Where are we going? I whispered, barely daring to break the silence. Eric's jaw clenched, eyes scanning the shadows ahead. There's an old fisherman's hut about a mile from here. No one goes near it anymore, should be safe for a while. We stumbled through the uneven terrain, roots grabbing at my shoes, branches scraping my face. Every snap of a twig or rustle of leaves had me freezing in terror, convinced we were being followed. But no one came. After what felt like an eternity, we reached the hut, a weathered structure leaning precariously against the ocean breeze. Eric fumbled with the rusted lock, finally pushing the creaking door open. Inside, the smell of salt and mildew mixed with a faint trace of burning wood. A small fireplace was cold but intact. I dropped my coat on the floor, trying to steady my shaking hands. Eric pulled out the flash drive again, holding it like a fragile promise. This contains everything we need to take Claire down, he said quietly. Emails, bank transfers, even a recording of her conspiring with someone higher up. But it's not just her. The deeper I dig, the more I realize this goes all the way to the top of the firm. My stomach churned. You mean this whole thing is a setup? Eric nodded grimly. Claire's a pawn. There's a group within the partners who want to seize control and are willing to destroy anyone in their way. They planned to use her to destabilize me. When she got pregnant and it became public, it threw a wrench in their plans. Now they want to silence us. I felt dizzy, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the conspiracy. Why tell me all this now? Yes. He looked at me, eyes vulnerable. Because you're the only one I trust. And because I don't know how much longer I have. They've already tried to scare you. Next time it might not be just warnings. The weight of his words sank in. Suddenly, the small hut's single window rattled violently. Someone was outside, watching. Hide the flash drive, Eric hissed, pulling me toward a pile of old fishing nets in the corner. I tucked the device beneath them, heart hammering. We sat in silence, listening. The night grew colder, the wind howling through cracks in the walls. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Finally, Eric whispered, "We need a plan. I can't take them on alone." I swallowed my fear. "Then we fight together." He reached out, taking my hand. For a moment, the storm outside faded. Just two people, tangled in a dangerous game with no clear end. But as dawn threatened the horizon, reality crashed back in. Eric's phone buzzed again. Another message from an unknown number. Asterisk, last warning. Walk away or suffer the consequences. Asterisk. I looked at him, eyes blazing. They won't stop. He nodded slowly. Then neither will we. The first light of dawn filtered through the grimy window, casting pale beams across the fisherman's hut. Eric and I sat side by side, exhaustion dragging at our bones, but determination burning in our veins. We couldn't wait. The firm's hidden cabal was moving faster than we expected, and time was slipping away. Eric connected the flash drive to his laptop, fingers trembling. The files opened, incriminating emails, money transfers, secret audio recordings. Each piece was a dagger exposing the rot festering beneath the firm's polished surface. "This is enough to bring them down," Eric whispered, eyes locked on the screen. I nodded, heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. But just as we prepared to send the evidence to the authorities, the power flickered, then died. Darkness swallowed us whole. A faint, cold voice whispered from the shadows. "Did you really think it would be that easy?" My breath caught. A figure stepped into the dim light, Claire. But not the desperate woman I had expected. She looked calm, almost triumphant. "You have no idea what you're dealing with," she said, a chilling smile curling her lips. Eric rose slowly. "It's over, Claire. We have the proof." She laughed low and dangerous. "Proof? You think that will save you? The real power lies elsewhere. I'm just the beginning." Suddenly, more figures emerged behind her. Board members I recognized, faces I thought were allies. Betrayal cut deeper than any wound. I realized then the truth. Eric had been a pawn too, unknowingly caught in a game far bigger than us. Claire stepped closer, holding up a second flash drive. "You're going to want to see this." Eric's face went pale. I grabbed the original flash drive from the table. "We'll see about that." The room erupted into chaos. Voices shouting, phones ringing. I slipped away through a side door, clutching the drive like my last lifeline. Outside, the salty breeze filled my lungs as I dialed the one person I could trust, the investigative journalist who had been quietly helping me from the start. Minutes later, police sirens wailed, flooding the street. The truth was finally breaking free. Weeks passed, and the scandal rocked the city. The corrupt partners were exposed, Claire and her accomplices arrested. Eric and I were left picking up the pieces, wounded but wiser. I moved into my cliffside cottage, where every sunrise reminded me of the light that follows darkness. Eric and I didn't rekindle what we had. The past was too fractured. But a new bond formed, forged in shared survival. Sometimes the most painful betrayals reveal the strength we never knew we had. And in that strength I found myself clearer, braver, free.